From the Ishan Broadcast Studio, it's Power Players, brought to you by ZDMS.
MPN's Power Player is sponsored by ZDMS Dealer Management System, the heart of technology in your dealership, and the engine that drives productivity and profitability. Schedule a demo today at zdms.com.
Welcome to Motorcycle and Powersports News Power Player. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest is CB Standridge from Streamline. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming in. We're going to talk a lot today about some AI, some financing, some events, a little bit of everything, a little bit of manufacturer stuff, a little bit of dealer stuff. You're a dealer too, right?
Yes, sir. I have two dealerships. I have one in Oklahoma City and one in the Woodlands. I carry BMW, Ducati, Triumph, Indian, Royal Enfield, and I've been in the industry for a very long time, well over 20 years.
Cool. You know, it's always neat when we have the opportunity to talk to somebody that has both perspectives. You know, not only are you a dealer, but you also work with dealers, so you kind of get to look at it from both sides of the fence. Absolutely.
And putting this project together of Streamline Finance, having to your point, having the ability to view it from a finance manager's perspective has been very, very beneficial, and basically just communicating with a bank who doesn't understand the Powersports industry and having them understand what it's like to be in a finance office. So it is very helpful when we were structuring this platform.
Cool. Well, I mean, I imagine just about everybody that's watching this, you know, is very familiar with the idea of pulling somebody's credit when you're trying to get them a loan to purchase. But now AI is a new tool that's available. Can you talk a little bit about how it's helping and you know, some of the data that it's looking at?
Yes, sir, for sure. I mean, everyone understands, like you said, about how we're currently doing it today, how most everyone is. Our platform is different because there are no underwriters. It's strictly just the technology. Mm-hmm. So the banks have, ahead of time, already pre-programmed their underwriting into our platform. So we're just trying to take your customer and match them up to that underwriting. But we do it in a different way. We give the bank a whole lot more information on a customer, which a lot of time leads to an approval that the customer would not have gotten, the dealer would not have gotten. So we could see things like how a person pays their Netflix bill, for example. We could see behaviors of a checking account. And when I say we can see it, we can't personally see it, but the AI, the technology can see it and score it accordingly to what the bank's looking for. We can see cell phone pings. In some cases, we can see cell phone pings about where a person lives and where they've lived for the lifetime of that phone, right? So it gives a bank a peace of mind that how long someone's been there. And there's many, many more. There's 400 data points to where I would say typically an underwriter is looking at maybe 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6. We're looking at 400. We get a much better understanding of what this customer is and is not. And it's most of the time it's very helpful to help create a loan that wouldn't have been created before.
Now, I mean, when you're looking at somebody's payment history, like what type of payment histories are you seeing that maybe a traditional, you know, credit pull wouldn't have seen?
Payment history. So we could see some things about utilities. We could extract information from someone's cell phone depending on provider, some more than others. But like I said, the Netflix accounts or any of those streaming platforms, we could see their pay history there and take that into consideration. But other things we can see in underwriting is checking account information, which is very, very helpful when it comes to servicing the loan and collecting. For example, we could see that this individual hopefully has enough money in the bank to afford this payment. We don't need a paycheck stub to tell us that. We can see the behavior of the checking account. We can see what day of the pay period of the month or the week that their check hits their bank account, and we could extract on that same day, which has been working out great for us so far. But yeah, having the ability to understand the checking account most of the time is very beneficial. And it's helping us get a lot more loans done for sure.
The mobility of ZDMS is great. You're not limited to how many people can be in the system and being efficient and working the process. You don't have to be here in the store, and I think that means a lot. So with ZDMS, I can go home, I can take my laptop, I can log in at any time, If I'm on vacation, I need to check things. You know, if you had 4 guys at a local race, or we went and set up somewhere, you do business as usual. For me, if I was out of town with the family, it's end of month, I want to make sure numbers are where they're supposed to be. I've got warranty claims hanging out. I can easily just go check with all my manufacturers, go right to my laptop, complete my repair orders, make sure end of month is clean and good. You know, that's a huge thing for me, being a manager.
What does this look like at the dealership? I mean, how does the process change if you're going to utilize a tool like this to do your financing?
Well, the technology, we could talk a lot about the technology, but I would say the most simplified way of doing it is your customer either scans a QR code, or the dealer, the finance manager, for example, would send a link to the individual who's wanting. They would give permission, then they would approve the link. The finance manager would enter the information just as they have been traditionally. But as soon as they hit submit, there is no waiting. There is no underwriter. There is no person waiting in a queue to pick this up and take a look. It's just an instant match. It's AI. So that scorecard versus all the banks in our platform, which is 3,400 banks and credit unions, all it does is just filter down to which of these banks line up with the customer. And right now we're narrowing that down to 5 approvals and what we consider to be the best approvals, and letting the finance manager and the customer make the decision on which bank to go with.
Now, I know you and I in a prior conversation, you had mentioned how much this helps you when you're having like an event at one of your dealerships. You know, everybody's running around, everybody's busy. You're talking to your past customers. You know, here's all these people at your store, and nobody has time to sell them bikes. How does this tool help you capture leads and sell bikes during an event when the store is mobbed with people?
We have a pre-qualification tool. The pre-qualification tool, you just described it great. We're packed, we're busy. It's a bike night. We have a band and we have a celebration going on, and there are customers everywhere. And I think most dealers would agree with me that you normally do not sell motorcycles on those days because everyone's so distracted and it's kind of overwhelming to the first-time customer. But what we do is you could set up an easel, you could put up QR codes, however you choose as the dealer around the dealership, and market it however you want. But what happens with technology is your customer can walk up, had never spoken to any of your staff. They could simply get their iPhone or smartphone and take a picture of the QR code, answer just a few questions. What just happened there is we took those questions they answered, we extracted information from that cell phone. We now have grabbed enough data, again, a soft pull, to pre-qualify them. So now your finance manager is in the office and they get a notification, someone out there on your showroom floor is pre-approved for $25,000. Or they get information back that someone out there, John Doe, is not approved through the platform whatsoever. And so it just gives a finance manager a way to really weed through there and figure out who the real customers are that day at that moment, and who the customers are that they may need to wait till Tuesday or Wednesday to catch up with later. But yes, sir, that's an exciting piece of technology. We've only had live for about 90 days now, but it's working great.
You know, I do want to talk about parts and accessories, but I kind of want to shift gears and go back to, you just mentioned, it lets finance manager know that this person is approved or this person's not approved. You had mentioned to me once before about how deep these approvals go. I mean, like there aren't that many that aren't approved, right? I mean, talk to me a little bit about that.
So in the last 30 days,
yep.
Right? We have some deep subprime lenders in our platform, and a couple of them are lease to own. We're not even looking for a credit score. We're looking for the right scenario, the right situation. So we are definitely buying, and we have booked deals in the 300s. We're not crazy. We're not going to approve every 300. It's got to be the correct, it's got to be the right situation for us. So what we're looking for is a person who has a good checking account, a verifiable checking account, and they have a check from an employer that's deposited on a regular basis. And we can see from our technology, how long they've been in their address by their cell phone pings. As long as we can verify that they have a good checking account and that they have enough money deposited by an employer, then they're probably going to need approval with us. So in the last 30 days, we have about a 90% approval rating that our dealers that we're currently working with understand what we're looking for. But our conversion rate right now is about 25% of that. And we are getting a lot of deals done that dealers wouldn't have never done. And while we're talking about subprime, it's also very important to mention that we don't ask for STIPs And your finance managers out there, sales managers out there know exactly what I'm talking about. Right now, if you deal with subprime, it could take days to get done. You know, they're asking, these subprime banks and finance institutions are asking for copies of paycheck stubs. You know, they're wanting to interview people. They're wanting references. They're wanting all kinds of documentation that we don't need because we already have vision of that information, again, with our technology. So completing a loan for someone with an 800 credit score and someone with a 300 or 400 or 500 credit score is the same time. It's the same amount of time. It's no harder, no easier.
Wow. You know, I have a friend. I mean, this is off topic a little bit, but you remind me of a friend of mine. He had a few stores in the Cincinnati area, so it's right on the edge of Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio, and they call it the tri-state area. And he would always say that when he did a subprime deal, he was reuniting families across the tri-state area because
yes.
They're calling everybody they know.
That's true. That's true. It's a lengthy process. Some dealerships have their own department that's just set up to handle that because it takes so much focus and time and kind of holding the hand of the customer and being in communication with that financing institution. But not with us. It's super easy, super fast, super streamlined.
Well, let's get back to the service and parts.
Okay.
Talk to us a little bit about how this can help dealers to sell more like accessories, parts, service. How's that work?
The platform does have a drop down when you're choosing the product. So for example, you could choose an ATV, you could choose a personal watercraft, you could choose a street bike, dirt bike, but you could also choose parts and accessories. And if you choose that drop down in our system, what you're doing now is only asking for revolving credit lines. You're asking for credit cards, and the credit cards in our platform can only be used by that dealer. So even if the dealer group has 5 stores, this credit card approval can only be used in this particular dealership. And it could be from anywhere from $1,000 on up to $20,000. And it's a revolving credit line that can only be used in that dealership. Think of it as a Visa or MasterCard that is virtual, that can only be used in your store. Every time a dealer gets an approval of a credit card in their store and they activate it, that account is matched to their portal. So the finance manager from day one to the existence of this credit line has the visibility to see where they stand on availability of money. So they can call up at any given time and a customer would have the knowledge of what they purchased originally and that they have money available. That money could be to purchase another motorcycle, could be to come in and get a lift kit for their UTV, whatever. It's just good information, good knowledge for a finance manager to mine some deals in the future.
Let's talk about manufacturers. And we've kind of talked about the dealers. I mean, is there any like great benefit to this technology that the manufacturers can enjoy?
I believe we're getting really close. So the number one thing that is holding back our deep subprime, like I said, we're in the last 30 days, we're right around 90% approval rate, but our conversion of those 90% are less than 25%. What holds a dealer back is that dealer fee. So when we do business with someone with a subpar credit score, it is expensive. It's expensive to service that account. So what would be very beneficial for a manufacturer, if a manufacturer came into our platform and they help offset some of those fees, it would drastically increase the approvals and the sales for that particular manufacturer. We're currently talking to one now, and the talks are going really, really well. And I think that will prove our theory that we can drastically help the retail sales of a particular motorcycle brand in our platform. We can get very, very detailed. A manufacturer can white label this. This could be, pick a name, manufacturer, finance company, powered by Streamline. And what can happen is this platform could only approve new motorcycles for said manufacturer. The manufacturer could spend the money with us that they're already spending with some of our competition in finance companies, no more, no less, and use that money to buy down the fee for the dealer. So to make a long story short, someone with very low credit score that right now could not buy a new motorcycle could absolutely buy a motorcycle with a little bit of assistance from the manufacturer aiding in that dealer fee, if that makes sense. We don't only deal in subprime. That's a piece of what we do, but we have great programs for people with 850 credit scores. We have currently today we have a 6.99 offered with U.S. Bank that currently is an unsecured installment that, within about another week or so, we're going to have an offering that is a secured installment agreement with an even better rate and an even better term. But we offer a loan for full spectrum, from the 850 credit score all the way down to into the 300s. We normally have something for everybody.
Wow. Well, I mean, I guess, a manufacturer could definitely, give themselves an advantage with something like that. I mean, especially like your stores. If I was one of your salespeople and I have a person that is credit challenged and I can't get them into the bike they came in on, but I know that this other bike, has a special program where the manufacturer's helping to buy down that fee to the dealer, I'm going to take all of my 350s that I can't get done on the bike they want, and I'm going to show them this other bike that they can leave with today.
100%. So finance managers are sharp people, and it would not take long for them to understand that, sure, we may already have Streamline right now, right? A lot of dealers do, and they may have this person approved, and it could be a 10% dealer fee, meaning that their loan is for $10,000, but we're going to fund them $9,000 because of the individual we're dealing with. Now, if the manufacturer would offset that fee, I have a Streamline approval with a 10% dealer fee, but hang on, if I go through this manufacturer's portal powered by Streamline, there's no fee whatsoever, or a 5% fee. Those finance managers are going to direct people into that portal and create far more approvals and motorcycles sold for said manufacturer.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
Well, I'd like to talk about like mining the customers that you've had, to get more sales. Every dealership has, customers that come in that want to buy bikes that can't buy bikes. And, in the old days, those people would, they were out to pasture, they were kind of gone.
That's right.
You'd mentioned to me some of the ways that AI can kind of resurrect those and turn them into deals. Can you talk about that? There's
a few situations in which a customer later on could turn into a buyer. So here's an example. You have a turn down through our platform, or you have an approval that you weren't able to use. So think of it like this: on the back side of the platform, there are banks with money set aside to do business with the platform. They are watching their scorecards. They are watching their money and what business they're missing. Mm-hmm. So they can go in at any given time and adjust their scorecard. If you're a manufacturer with a product they like in a geographical area that they like, you will see banks adjust their scorecard to grab more of that business. So here's an example of what has happened. A dealership in the Houston, Texas area has done a whole lot of applications with us. We get to go back to that dealer and say, hey, we have got a few new banks on the platform now. What we can tell through the platform is that had these banks been in the platform when you ran these previous customers, you would have gotten an approval. We get to tell the dealer, hey, here's some names of some customers that you can go back to now, reach out to, and the chances of them getting approved now are very high. Mm-hmm. So, and also getting approvals that they're unable to use. So in other words, the finance manager gets an approval with our platform, but we get beat by one of our competitors. That's good information as well. So the bank did win. We got a loan approved, but the dealer chose not to use it, or the individual chose not to use it. This is good information for us to go back to our banks and say, guys, it's one thing to have great technology and great banks with great approvals, but if you can't beat our competition, it's all for naught. So we get to use that information to help our bank stay as competitive as possible. And one thing I will tell you, if you look at us in 3-month clips, we get stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's all because of this data. The more data we get, the stronger our company gets, and it just benefits the dealer, benefits the customer.
You mentioned earlier that sometimes a customer that may not have gotten an approval through the traditional process can get an approval through the AI process. Can you elaborate on that a little bit and like kind of show us how that might work?
Okay, so you have a customer who has a credit score that, let's just be hypothetical and say they're in the high 500s, low 600s. A dealer's ran them everywhere else other than us. And they're pretty quickly, most dealers understand that would be a decline. Well, when they run through our portal, with us looking at all the data points, let me just come up with a hypothetical. So this customer has a poor score, but they have a verifiable checking account. We can see that they've been in their house for a long time, that they pay a lot of their Netflix and cell phone bills and utilities and all those things very, very well. And we can see that this customer has an average daily balance in their checking account of $5,000. that customer is getting a loan with us. They're absolutely getting a loan with us. But our competition using traditional old school underwriting, they don't have the ability to see this information that we can see. And by doing so, we're getting a lot of customers on motorcycles that would not have been on them before, helping the customer, helping the dealer, helping the banks, helping Streamline.
So like a certain bank through the traditional process might say no, but because they're looking at different stuff and they've already set up their criteria.
That's right.
Through Streamline, that same bank might approve that same person.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. So when a bank comes into our platform, they are turning over underwriting to us. Mm-hmm. So there's still a lot of these banks, all of these banks still do a traditional financing, which is what we're all used to. And they also have underwriting that's underwritten within our platform. So absolutely, we get loans done with the same lending institution that cannot be done with traditional underwriting. You're exactly right. Yes, sir.
That has to be like a neat thing for a customer. Like a customer has a credit union that they do business with. They've applied. The credit union turned them down. They come into your dealership. You use Streamline, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, we got an approval from your credit union that turned you down.
Yes, sir. It happens.
They have to just grin from ear to ear, like, wow.
Yes, it happens.
So, if a dealer is interested in learning more or getting started with a program like this, how does that work?
So you could just go to our website, streamlinefinance.com, and you could find us, and we could quickly just have someone get in touch with you. We could do a video chat. We could show you a demo of our system, and the actual process is very simple. We just send you an application, which is very painless, and then right now it's taking us about 2 weeks to get people ready to go. Our only real bottleneck is that we're growing really fast. We're turning dealers on all the time, every day, multiple dealers, and I know it's important to make sure the dealers are trained thoroughly on the platform, and we just haven't really figured that out well yet. So we're kind of moving slower than we would like to, but it's a good problem that we have a lot of dealers that are on the platform doing well. The word's spreading to other dealers. People are just reaching out to us. We have no salespeople. We have not a lot of marketing going out looking for dealers. We had a great showing at the AIM show in Vegas, and from then on, we're just basically fielding calls and fielding leads, and we're training the dealers and getting them on as fast as we can. But from the dealer standpoint, it's very painless. It's just one electronic form they send into us, and 2 weeks later they're ready to go as soon as we can train them up.
Yep. I mean, that's how I found you, as the AIM Expo.
Yes, sir.
I've known Richard for a long time, and I was just walking down the aisle, and he knows everybody. He knows everybody at every trade show in every industry that's ever existed. But boy, you put him in your booth, everybody's going to see it.
That's right. Absolutely. Great guy.
Was there anything more you'd like to share with our audience today, CB?
Just, I'm excited. Again, I've been in the motorcycle industry for a very long time myself. Mm-hmm. I understand what dealers are going through right now because I'm one of those dealers, right? We all have too much a flooring cost, the cost of to have that motorcycle sitting there and not moving. It's painful for the dealer. It's painful for the manufacturer, and dealers are having to really, really discount and get to really thin margins to just kind of kick the can right now. With Streamline, I think we're changing that. I think we're going to continue to change that. We can build programs very specific. We can build programs very specific to a dealer. If a dealer hypothetically is having a problem selling a Kawasaki dirt bike, just a hypothetical, we could build a program just for that dealer, just for their Kawasaki dirt bikes. We could have a promo of no interest or deferred interest for a year, 18 months, 24 months. Of course, that's a cost to the dealer, but the dealer's spending marketing dollars anyway, right? So why not sell that thing for full pop, full freight and setup and full MSRP, but offer a benefit on financing that no other manufacturer offers within your store. The dealership can create this however they want to. If they want to sell a particular motorcycle that they've had for 2 or 3 years, they can't get rid of, they've got it marked down well under cost and no one wants to look at it. Well, how about we set it up in the system where almost anyone who applies for that motorcycle gets approved at full retail? So we're doing that, and I believe we're changing the industry for a better. This technology's here, and it's only going to continue to get better and better as we grow.
That sounds great. I mean, in the dealer world, there's only so many levers that you have to pull to move inventory. And it sounds like with this technology, you're like doubling the number of levers to make offers that customers are interested in taking advantage of.
Yes, sir. And another question dealers have for us, right off the bat, questions I would have too. What does this cost? What does this cost? It costs nothing. So we have no setup fee. We have no monthly fee. We have no per application fee. And if you're dealing with prime paper, which, mid 600s and up, there are no fees. There's only fees as you start getting to the lower and the subprime paper. It doesn't cost anything. And I think it's also important to say that there's no hard pull on your customer. Like from the time we deal with them, there is no hard pull whatsoever until they choose an offering or they agree to a loan. And it's all paperless. They click OK, dealer clicks OK, loan is booked, no recourse to the dealer, no cost to the dealer. The ACH is on its way immediately. We fund really, really fast. It's just really, really exciting. And it's exciting how fast we're growing and dealers are wrapping their head around this. It is different, but they're catching on really, really quickly. And it's just really exciting at Streamline Finance right now.
Now, if let's say that I live in a different state than where you're at, but you have a bike that I really want. Is this something that you could do, remotely? Like, could you send me that link and I'm 2 states away and I could get pre-qualified, or could I find that on a website and get pre-qualified? Is this something that can happen anywhere?
It can happen anywhere. I'm finding that most finance managers are wired like me, that we want to have as much of the information, to present to the customer. And that's how I'm going to recommend most all dealers start off. But to answer your question, yes, there is technology there that's very simple that you could just shoot it out to the customer. It hits their iPhone, for example. They do everything, and you find out later what offerings they have. But most dealers like myself prefer to be in front of the customer, negotiate the deal, close the deal, present the numbers. And that's kind of how I'm wired. And most dealers so far on our platform are wired that way, but the technology's there. We could send one across the country. We're busy on a Saturday, just have them fill it out and find out in 5 minutes later that they're approved for X amount of dollars. And then now all we do as a dealer now is go back and enter VIN number, enter a few little basic information, the deal's done. So.
Well, thank you for coming in today,
yeah,
CB.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for taking the time to join us for this Motorcycle and Powersports News Power Player. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, our guest has been CB Standridge from Streamline Finance. We hope to see you again on a future episode.